2.5 blocks up and slightly across the street. Now the concern is that if the building falls, if the second building falls, that it will be falling in that direction. So they are now evacuating their own command post and triage center, and they have to find an even further zone to move that to. Something that is striking about this today is that this is indicative of, with a car bomb at the State Department, a plane crash into the Pentagon, 2 planes designated to crash into each tower of the World Trade Center, bringing one down. It connotes the level of planning and sophistication and extreme logistical ability that probably makes this the largest, most well-coordinated act of terrorism, not just in U.S. history, but probably
in modern times.
In modern times.
Yeah,
unprecedented.
And every time you say that, I'm going to go immediately to Washington now, but every time you say that, I keep thinking of how we are told time and time and time again by the Pentagon and by the State Department that they know something.
Peter,
let's look at the North Tower quickly,
seems to be coming down.
Oh my God.
The second tower.
It's hard to put it into words, and maybe one doesn't need to. Both trade towers, where thousands of people work, on this day, Tuesday, have now been attacked and destroyed, with thousands of people either in them or in the immediate area adjacent to them. There is simply no way to accurately describe the emotion this evokes in people all over the world, friends of the United States and enemies of the United States as well. John Miller, very briefly, you said to us just a few minutes ago that this was their concern, that they thought after the first tower went that the second one was vulnerable.
There was constant intelligence that terrorist organizations, and specifically that financed by Osama bin Laden, was trying to mount another series of attacks against the United States. Of course, they thought of the symbolic targets. The most symbolic was the World Trade Center because it had been attacked yet not brought down. And it seems that those concerns that even caused the World Trade Center to hire a senior FBI counterterrorism official just weeks ago to try and beef up security have come home to roost. It's also interesting to say that there is no type of security
which would have prevented against this today. Well,
Nothing.
that may not. I was going to say that may not altogether be true because that is the second attack on the southern tower. The first higher on this end of the tower, but both those towers have now gone. And here's a picture that doesn't exist because that's not a live picture anymore. Good Lord. Now, can I ask where this picture is? This is
outside the World Trade Center. The sign indicates the approach to the
Brooklyn Bridge. The Brooklyn Bridge. So we're
on West Street, approximately just north of Vesey Street there.
And you can see the dust and debris. And this is I don't know if this is at an early stage or whether this is right now. It's at an early stage because there in the distance you can see at least one of the towers still standing as people wander, many of them dazed. And look at the cell phones in their ears. This is, in a cell phone society, and it's certainly true in the Middle East, people on their cell phones all the time seeking and offering reassurance to their families and their friends that something has happened. In Israel, and at least those who have them in the Palestinian territories these days, it's constant on the cell phones because there is such tension in the region and such tension here today, which is extraordinary, that people wanting everywhere to reassure or find out about what has happened near and dear to them.
One thing we should update for people listening, particularly in this area, who may have been worried, there was a concern that if this building...
You mean in the New York City area?
Yes. There was a concern if this building fell that it would land on the center they had set up at Stuyvesant High School, where the students were still there. The reports from Stuyvesant High School now are that everybody there is okay.
Stuyvesant High School, the high school in the adjacent area, which the city and the state authorities set up to deal with the casualties that they could get out of the building or had occurred adjacent to the building. It is just clear that a lot of people, we do not know how many, got out of the building. And it is going to take time. It is going to take time. The New York Office of Emergency Management, which monitors the city and all its vulnerable points, said when this whole thing began this morning, they could not get an immediate handle on precisely what was happening. And it was only, you've seen this before, this is a recording of precisely what happened when the second tower went down. And this is from a very long distance. This camera is located on the edge of the Hudson River on the West Side Drive up the western side of Manhattan. And